Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of The Dribble, the show where we take a closer look into the Boston Celtics, the rest of the NBA, and whatever else might come up. My name is Luke Irwin, and I am your host. We have a great show today, right? The Celtics are up 2-1 on the Cleveland Cavaliers in the second round of these playoffs. So we had a couple games this week that we're going to talk about. Timmy KGB is back on the episode. Yes, he was not on the episode last week, but he is back. We're going to do our major wager where I am slipping way behind and he is kind of stretching out the lead, but I feel a win. I feel a win coming this week. So stay tuned for that. And then also Timmy and I are going to break down this Celtics playoff stint right now, the last couple of games that we've had. We're going to dive into it, talk about the loss that we had, the win that we had, and some trends that we're seeing and some things that we want to improve on moving forward. We will dive into all of it. And then Hope's Hotel is back. Hope's Hotel, for those of you who do not know, is my NBA tier rankings based on every team's title hopes, right? Everywhere from teams with no hopes, the parking lot, to high hopes in the penthouse suite. And of course, with the playoffs, there are only 8 teams left, so the hotel is getting tight. The hotel is closed for a private event. That private event is the playoffs. Only certain teams are in the hotel, so I will rank them where I believe these teams are, and as far as getting to a title. So yeah, we got a lot to talk about. And I suggest we do. Because this is The Dribble. Timmy KGB, look at you, man. You're looking good. This is a Mother's Day, by the way, for everybody that we're recording this. Tim clearly loves our mom more than I do. Look at him.
I just wanted to upstage you, basically. Look at this.
You're not wearing pants, though, are you? You're definitely not wearing pants.
No bottoms, just only tops. But we do what we can do.
You do what you can do. Exactly. You do what you can do. I'm excited, man. I haven't had you on in a couple of weeks now, and we maybe I was afraid to have you on because you are absolutely crushing me in Major Wager right now. I can't believe it because I was up. It seems like 2 bets ago, I was up pretty handily, and then you have just made a surge, which is killing me. But let me go ahead and pull this up where you are at right now in comparison to me. Timmy, you have $1,552. And I have, still in the black, $1,018. But okay, you're up 500 and whatever that is, 30 something bucks. So you're killing me.
Okay. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Let's hope to extend this lead this week.
No, we are going to break into the lead. I can feel a win because I went a little, not safe, but I'm really happy with my bet. I like my bet, but I'm going to have you read yours first, Tim. What are you going to do in your major wager to try to really separate us as we close out this season?
All right, let's see. So I'm also going to play it safe. Mm-hmm. Okay. Pretty safe. So we have these 2 games. We have Boston at Cleveland for game 4 here. The line is Celtics -8. We have the Thunder playing again in Dallas, hoping to even up the series. The line there is Dallas -2. I want to do, again, nothing too complicated here. I want to do a money line parlay, okay, between these 2 games. Okay. And I'm going to take OKC on the money line, and I'm going to take the Boston Celtics on the money line. I was going to do the lines on both of these because I really like OKC at +2. I mean, I really think that they're going to go in and even up the series there, and expect a big game from those guys. Celtics, I think, will win again. The line 8 scared me off just a little bit. I'm still waiting for the right close clutch time game in this series and for the Celtics in the playoffs in general. So, yeah, so I felt comfortable with that, especially Mitchell sort of hobbling off at the end of last game. We'll see if he's limited in some way. So money line parlay, Boston Celtics, Oklahoma City Thunder. And, this pays out at a juicy little +171.
Nice. So, I like that.
Yeah. Any guess at what I want to wager there?
I bet you're going to do the normal 100 because you're afraid. You're not going to do 200.
Is that a dare?
Might be a dare.
Okay.
Do it. Do 200. You're looking fancy. You look like money. You look like you've been winning. Just do 200. Do 300.
I feel rich in this. I was just at the country club. I wish that were a joke. And I will do it, Lukey, because I am very susceptible to any form of peer pressure, as you know.
Okay, I like
Um,
it.
I'm feeling saucy, and I feel like this is a good. I like both of these picks a lot. I'd be really
Yeah.
surprised if Dallas went up 3-1 on this Thunder team, who I think is better than Dallas. But let's do it. So $200 here gives me a payout of $543.52.
Wow.
This could put me, I think,
Wow.
I forget what you said I had, but close to 2,000 here.
Yeah, you're really climbing up. You have
Yeah.
1552 right now. So that really,
Yeah.
whew, that's a good
Cool.
one. That's a really good one. All right. So me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play it a little bit more conservative because obviously, as you can see, I am clearly poorer than you. I'm wearing just a humble T-shirt. I did not just go to the country club.
Mm,
I just went to eat lunch directly out of my fridge with the fridge door open. So
classy.
that's kind of the difference of us right now. So but I'm still gonna try to climb. I'm doing a parlay. I'm doing a same game parlay though, and
Mm.
I'm also taking the money line on OKC because I like that. And like you said, I don't think Dallas is gonna go up 3-1. I don't know how injured Luka is. He's always seems to be. He's like LeBron. There always seems to be like some hobbling thing, but then he looks fine when he's actually playing. But he hasn't played well in this series. He's had a tough time, which could mean that he could have a big game. But I'm taking the Thunder to tie it on the money line, and then I'm going to take SGA, the runner up for MVP, to have over 30 and a half points. So kind of going hand in hand. I think he's going to have a big game. The Thunder are good on the road all year. 24-17 was their record on the road. So they're a pretty good road team. And I just think that Shea is going to go off and they're going to get this game and tie it 2-2 heading back to Oklahoma City. I have the Thunder losing this series. I have the Mavs moving on, but I
Interesting.
do have them tying it up 2-2
I
here.
still think the Thunder are going to win this series. So
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think
I
I
just
think
think
it'll go 7, and I think they're going to win.
I think Luka's going to have a surge at the end of the series, the last few games. And then Kyrie has been impressive. And their defense, Dallas's defense has been off the charts in the last couple of months of the season. And in the playoffs, they've been pretty good too. So,
I'm
so
waiting for Kyrie to tweet some weird stuff out before like Game 6, and then like derail the whole thing.
derail
No, I'm
exactly,
kidding.
and just not show up for maybe a game or something, and then yell at reporters. I don't know,
Let's
but
give it
I'm
up for
right now.
Kyrie, by the way, who has like very like under the radar sort of tricked us into liking him again in some way.
Yeah,
Not us specifically, because I think we still hate him, but just
yeah.
like the NBA in general. They're like, hey, this Kyrie Irving is really good at basketball. It's like,
Oh man, I
yeah, we
mean,
know, but
we can talk about the media all we want. People are so quick. I mean, like it's just ridiculous that how quick right now the media changes and flip flops everything. I mean, like Minnesota wins the first two games in Denver, and it's going to be a sweep. There's no chance. Denver comes back, wins game 3, and then they're like, well, wait, actually, Denver is my favorite, and I love Denver, and they're going to win it all. The media, and obviously we've seen it with Tatum, with
we
like,
are the media, Luke. I mean, like, think about if we had done this podcast after Game 2, you know,
true,
versus
we are
doing
the
it
media.
today. I mean, we do it. It's hard not to fall into the the trap of the present moment
Yeah.
in the playoffs, especially after a loss. But yeah, I like your pick, Luke. I like your same game parlay there, and looks like we have similar reads on that game.
But I'm not going to be swayed into the 100. Like I said, I ate lunch out of the fridge, so I can't pull that
No,
other
you
100.
need to bet a lot of money so you can catch up with
No,
me.
no, because I need you to lose the 200 and then I need to slowly climb. There's many weeks left. We have time. I have time. I'm not going to try to blow
I'll
my
play it.
load in
Yeah.
1 week. But I'm going to bet 100, the standard major wager, $100 bet, and that is at a plus 234. So to win 334. So pretty good chunk. I could really take out. I mean, if you lost, I'd be only down 100 if you lose your bet and I win mine. But for that to happen, you would need OKC to win, and I would also. I would just need Shea to have a good game, and that would
You know,
do it. And then
I'm regretting not throwing the lottery into my.
oh
Is the
yeah,
lottery like on Monday or something? Is it, or did it? It didn't already
I
happen.
was gonna say it happened today.
Oh, it did.
Atlanta Hawks got the number one pick,
Oh, look at that.
which is actually kind of scary with Atlanta. I mean, they have Trey, they have Murray, they have some pieces, Capella. Like to get the number one pick, it's a weak draft. It's one of the weaker
Yeah,
drafts
really.
that we've seen in a while, but still,
That could change
good
their
for them.
plans a little bit. That's interesting. Yeah.
And poor Wizards. I mean, Wizards drop to 2. I mean, these teams. I mean, at least the Hawks were in the play-in this year, but my goodness, ridiculous.
Probably
Okay,
doesn't really matter that much in this draft, but yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say this is the one draft. This is kind of like these years happen every once in a while. It's kind of like forgettable year, but there will be probably 1, 2 guys in the draft that are good, but it's not like a talent heavy draft at the top. All right, so let's go over the Celtics, Timmy. We had 2 games this past week, and like in the Miami series, the Celtics lost game 2 at home. This was a little bit different than the Miami game, but the Celtics lost 94-118, got absolutely embarrassed on their home floor. And then, of course, on Saturday night, last night, we had a bounce back game, won 106-93 in Cleveland. Cleveland was rocking. It was a great game. It was super competitive back and forth. Of course, Donovan Mitchell lately has been on a tear. He had 50 points in game 6 against the Magic, then 39 in game 7, and then 33, and then 29, and then 33 again last night. And his shooting percentage has been off the charts. So, Tim, what'd you see in the loss? What'd you see in the bounce back? But what stood out overall to you with the Celtics here?
Yeah, let's sort of start with game 3 and then work a little bit backwards. Let's start with the positive here. We've just come off this game, and game 2 feels like forever ago. But so yeah, I mean, I thought like in the Miami series, we really responded to a pretty bad loss. Really well. I thought game 3 was really encouraging. It wasn't the blowout that game 3 in Miami was, obviously, but Cavs team is slightly better than Miami. And so I was really encouraged by what happened, specifically by JT and JB and how they looked in this game. And we've been talking offline about Jason Tatum, who we both love, of course. He's our guy. But just had not been the best player on the Celtics yet in this playoffs, and really kind of hadn't been the best player on the Celtics in any game, in my opinion. I
Maybe
mean,
game 1 in Miami.
maybe game 1 in Miami. That's true. He had that triple double in Miami
Right.
game 1. But I just even then the scoring wasn't. It just hasn't been there. I mean, people have talked a lot about Tatum's inefficiency this postseason, which has been troubling. But in this game, he was great. 33 points. 13 rebounds. And by the way, like, let's not gloss over those rebounds, because some of those were really tough rebounds. I mean, just his energy level, crashing the boards.
Yeah.
6 assists. I thought he did a great job. He and Holiday really pushing the ball, getting it moving around. The ball was moving with energy, less sort of isolation basketball and static play that we had a lot of in game 2. So
Right.
big bounce back in general. And I think Tatum, right from the beginning of the game, just like he had the energy. He got a couple buckets early, and he's sort of one of those guys, like, if he gets a couple buckets early, people start sort of overreacting to him. He goes by, he starts getting to the rim, he starts getting to the free throw line. He got to the line pretty consistently. And so I was just like very impressed by, the way Tatum was able to, continuing not to have a great shooting night. It's not like he shot the lights out.
No.
He was able to really affect the game much more than he did in game 2, and has in a lot of these games. He was the best player in this game. Mitchell also obviously chipped in 33, like you said. Mitchell's very good. We can have the Mitchell discussion in a minute, but I thought Tatum, fantastic. And then Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
Welcome to the playoffs, baby.
I know.
I was waiting for this from Drew, especially with missing a guy in Porzingis. And White has sort of regressed to the mean in this big way. White had a decent game, ended up having a decent game this game, but really hasn't, been the Derek White of
right.
Games ago.
We knew that was going to happen. We knew Derek White was going to fall back down to earth, and that's why the concern with Tatum was there. It was because we saw that in game 2, if Derek White isn't shooting as well as he has been, and Jaylen Brown, who didn't play well in game 2, if Tatum's still shooting poorly, where's our offense going to come from? Because all season, Drew Holiday has been a 12 points per game scorer. It's not like we've asked him to carry a heavy load. Porzingis is out. He's another scorer that we have. Al Horford is, he's just our veteran who just makes the right plays. All around in game 2 of this series and in the Miami series, it was just a lack of aggression all around by every player. And then game 3, the bounce back. Obviously, you said Tatum was aggressive, and some things that stood out to me were he guarded Mobley for most of this. Throughout the entire season, he guarded Jared Allen, he guarded Mobley. He's been being put on those like longer, more lanky bigs sometimes, and he did a good job in this game, like taking on that task, but then also grabbing rebounds down there with him, like you said, super aggressive. But some plays stood out to me in this game. Obviously, last game 2, after the game, he came out and said the media expects us to win every game. They expect us to sweep every team. And we don't we forget how good Donovan Mitchell is. There are players who can just take over on the Cavs. It's not like they're this rollover team, and they have been good. They're the fourth seed in the East with some good teams. The Sixers weren't up there. The Heat, who everybody liked, even with healthy Jimmy, they didn't make it up to the fourth seed. So they did have a fine season, and they were seventh in defensive rating. But to follow up saying, we're gonna stay even essentially, and we're gonna just keep playing the way that we've played, and then following it up with that performance. And like I said, a couple of plays that stood out. That the first quarter, he had that blow by on Mobley, didn't settle, and got into the paint and had the two-handed slam. And then he had on the baseline against Max Strus, again, a play that we've seen Tatum take a pull-up jumper there. He does that baseline spin away from the help defense, and he gets that big jam. And it's the jam, but it's the reaction afterwards. He looked at the that front line of court side. Yeah, and he's punching his chest. And then the third play,
if I punched my bicep, it would just deflate like a balloon.
Ow. Oh my God.
It'd be like a SpongeBob SquarePants cartoon.
Yeah, exactly. And the third play that stood out, which was the one that he punches his bicep on, and after the game, it came out that apparently Tatum gave a speech at halftime to the Celtics players, basically saying, like, we need to galvanizing them to come out strong. And we're always up at half by 10, it seems, this whole season. Even if we lose the game, we start up by 10 at half. And he basically was like, let's go out like we're down by 9. That was the message that he gave everybody. Let's go out as if our backs are against the wall and that we're not up at all. And the very first play of that second half, Tatum gets the ball at the top immediately, not even a single dribble backwards. He just immediately goes to the cup, gets by Mitchell. He had Mitchell on him, which is also a statement to their best player, crosses him up, gets into the middle and one, does that flex. And it just started the tone. And the Celtics went on a 14-0 run to start that third quarter. And that's what we've been wanting. Look, Tatum, this whole entire playoffs, has not shot the ball well. His scoring is not there. But again, like he said in the post-game presser, he's not worried about his scoring. And I'm not really either, because that will come. If anything, it's a good thing that his lull is happening now, because he's going to bounce back up, and that'll be in the conference finals and the finals. But he's been playing amazing defense. He's been rebounding. He's played an all-around good. He's been playing well in the playoffs, and that scoring will come. But what we've been missing is that leadership, that taking the troops and saying, not only being like, guys, we need to step it up. We need to play like our backs against the wall. But then the first play of the second half, showing it, and then everybody else follows. Obviously, we go on that massive run, which basically separated the game and blew it out.
I agree with that, Luke. I think it was just the urgency with which he started the game in that second half, which were the two sort of moments. And I also heard about that halftime speech. That's great to hear. I mean, that's not something we've always heard out of Jason Tatum, is being the one to give those speeches and sort of galvanize the team in those moments. I think that's really it. Like, yes, the scoring was better here tonight again, but like that's not really the issue. It's the aggressiveness, it's the leadership, it's the tenacity. Like, you just noticed in this game, Tatum, he kind of got abused. I mean, like, getting in the lane, not doing that thing where, a lot of players in the NBA are guilty of this, but certainly Tatum is hunting for fouls and sort of these soft takes where he's like the only purpose is to draw contact. No, he's ending up on the floor, ending up in the stands, sliding across the floor, finishing tough drives at the rim. So he just seemed like from minute one he had a mission, and that mission was to do what he did, which is to help his team win this game. And then coming out of that half, you're right, that was the crucial moment of the game. I mean, 14-0 run, Cavs were down by 23 at that point. And it was just too much for them to overcome. Dean Wade this time left his, cape and spandex in the telephone booth. Thank God.
Were you for maybe?
Oh yeah.
Were you for like a half a second when he came out and he hit that first three? Were you like, no way is Dean Wade going to be this guy in the Celtics lore? Like,
no, not only that, like, it's so funny that you mentioned that. I think I was like, he hit that three, and I was watching with Roz, and I just turned to her and I was like, where's the series because of Dean Wade, basically. 1-3. I think that's the only one he had. But no, you're right. And from that, we go on that 14-0 run. We're up 23. And I thought we did a really good job responding all the times the Cavs cut it. I mean, they cut the deficit like to 9, I think, twice in the fourth quarter, and there was always a response, whether it was from Tatum or Pritchard hit that great deep three, like just timely responses to avoid what could have been a really close game. I mean,
Yeah.
this was not a blowout. To me, this was the first game that we've played that felt like a real playoff game.
Right.
And
Right.
I say that because, in Miami, I know those games get chippy and, there's a lot of, whatever, like, yeah, there's a lot of roughness, but it just never felt close enough to really feel like a playoff game. Even the game we lost was kind of a blowout. I mean, we lost by double digit. I think we lost by 10,
Yeah.
and then we blew them out several times. But this one was the closest it felt to, like, okay, we might get into clutch time here. We're still waiting for that game that's going to be truly decided on a shot or two at the end of the game. But no, I thought Tatum, JB too, they combined for 61. JB just continues to be super efficient. He just quietly gets it done. Like you said, get into the rack.
Yeah.
Uh, Man, he has so many ways of finishing, and he was just really efficient. I don't have his exact numbers, but he and Holiday both. Like Holiday was 7 for 10 shooting, 3 for 4 from three. Again, those guys just contributing, scoring, and doing it in a way that was, yeah, just really efficient. So I thought that was great. Just flowers for Jaylen Brown. I think he continues to be stellar this whole offseason, in my
Right.
opinion.
And we've both been watching the Celtics for the past, I mean, forever, but this team in particular, we've been watching them very closely. And like you said, the timely buckets is something that we have not had. Like that has been the one thing that's been missing, and why this team has always been plagued with fourth quarter comebacks from other teams and all of these things is because that shot by Pritchard doesn't go in. Those plays by Tatum on the baseline to ice it, that shot over Strus that went over the backboard, those don't go in typically, and like we've been showing this whole year that it's different. There's been a couple obviously against the Cavs with Dean Wade, that 22-point loss, but we have shown timely buckets more
Yeah.
this year and especially in this game, which was huge. And one more thing about Tatum, there's this move that he did that I've been waiting for him to try because I've been frustrated with his finishing at the rim because, like you said, he's searching for the contact instead of searching for the bucket, and it's like you see it. He like is almost leaning into the players with the ball down here, but he did this one the slow Euro step, that like you stop. And Anthony Edwards talked about it. He said he learned it from Luka, and Anthony Edwards has been using that, and that's been one of the reasons that he's been so great. That like you hit that foot and then you just wait a second and then go over to the Euro step. Instead of doing it in rhythm, you just do it a little half step out of rhythm and it gets them out. And he had that on Mitchell in the first quarter, which again, I just was like, you can tell with a move like that he's not, this isn't going to be a Tatum crying to get to the free throw line, just kind of like, a lot of the palms up type of thing. He's actually here to get to the bucket and actually just get results. And then Drew Holiday was great. Pritchard was great. Hauser was 2 of 2 for 3, or maybe 2 of 3 from 3. Al Horford, not great. That's the only thing. That he had 2 points in this game, and he looked out of sync. The passes that he had weren't there. Even the passes that were coming to him, he fumbled a little bit, and his defensive aggressiveness is certainly, you can expose it. Like they were driving
Well,
on
they
him
did.
pretty
I mean, that
easily.
was a game plan, obviously, for the Cavs this game. I mean, I was going to bring that up too. I mean, Horford looks old, and it's tough because I think Missoula did such a good job all year of preserving both Horford and Porzingis
Yeah.
by, we're starting Porzingis obviously, but Horford really, he managed his minutes, making sure to keep him fresh for the postseason, and starting him, look, he took a bunch of really good open threes. He just didn't make them.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened last postseason too. You can attribute that to legs, freshness of legs, or maybe just bad shooting luck or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, he does look a step slow. The shot looks, obviously he's not going in right now. The offense isn't really there. Personally, and then defensively, you said, like, I kept bemoaning. It seemed like they were doing this really successfully, just getting him switched onto Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
And he would play decent defense on Mitchell as much as Al Horford sort of can. I mean, he would get a good contest up, and Mitchell was making a lot of those shots. On the one hand, you'll live with that because you're sort of like, okay, well, if really what game two, what killed us was Levert 21, Mobley 21 and 10,
Mm-hmm.
Garland and Okoro both had double digit games. You're gonna win the series if it's just Mitchell going off, so you wanna guard him one on one, but it just felt like, oof, he has to drop back a little. He has to be in this sort of drop coverage to not get blown by, and I don't know. It's just tough, and it makes me wonder if we shouldn't be starting Cornette just because, like, to preserve Horford's minutes, because he's playing a lot of minutes since Zinger went out, and
Yeah.
to just to sort of keep that rotation sort of intact. And I thought Cornette has looked good in this series sporadically. He didn't do a ton today, but uh, especially with Allen out,
Yeah. I
no, I think
agree.
we can get away with starting Luke Cornette, and I want to see more of him while Porzingis is
And
sidelined.
Mobley's been killing us in the paint, which Al's a better perimeter defender, and Cornette is pretty good in the paint. He did not Cornette did not look great this game again. He had some bad turnovers.
Yeah,
Joe ended up pulling him, and that's the depth. This was a game, the first game that we saw since Porzingis went out, that kind of truly showed why his impact is so great on this
yeah.
team. Like Al Horford kind of, held court the past couple of games and he was fine, but he's just not who he was. He's somebody who can come in for a good, 10, 15 minutes in a game and hit a couple of threes. But when he's asked to carry that big of a load, it just isn't, it's not viable for what we're doing, especially with a team that was hunting his mismatch, like you said. I mean, they were just doing the double screens all the way down. I almost think in those scenarios that Al should press the ball, pressure the ball, let him get by you,
And
have
let
the help
somebody else
defense
help.
rotate, and then make Okoro beat you on the 3-point line. Like I'd rather that than him on an island. I would rather that happen. But either way, great bounce back game. And like we said, game 2 was, when this team loses, we really lose. But I truly think, look, maybe it'll happen every series. We'll go 1-1. I hope it's not the case. But like, it's good to know that it is an effort thing, because at least effort can be dragged out. Like
Is it
it's
though?
good and bad, we know, but at least the game 3s have been a bounce back completely. So
Right.
we know
So
that we have it.
I agree with that. I mean, it's really the same as the Miami series, but it's funny because this is a pattern, and I think that's why. So going back to that Tatum quote where he says people expect us to win every game, it's like, actually, I mean, yes, this team has been like dominant and has won most of their games, so maybe there is that expectation. But I think the reason why Celtics fans in particular and the NBA media in general reacts the way they do to Celtics losses, like both game 2 losses,
Mm-hmm.
is it does seem to play into a pattern of lack of effort, lackadaisical, playing with your food, which has become the big cliche that people repeat with this team. But I don't know, like, I do think in those losses, it feels like we're almost punting the game and assuming that we can probably eke one out with just based on the fact that we're more talented.
Right.
So, it does trouble me because, sure, in a Cavs series, in a undermanned Miami Heat series, maybe it doesn't matter that much. But I think that's what got us into trouble with Miami last year.
Yeah.
We waltzed in and we thought, okay, we can win, and then Miami punched us in the mouth. And we're going to get punched in the mouth if we have this approach by the Knicks or Pacers, probably, either one of them.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so it does worry me. He sort of, underplays it. Says, Don't, we're not going to change the way we play. It's like, well, you do change the way you play. I see a different Celtics team playing, and it's not just that shots aren't going down. I mean, we did shoot poorly in that game, 23% from three,
No, but we had a terrible effort on both
but
ends.
it was the effort and mostly the defensive effort. Um, and I don't know. There are certain games like you just mentioned when Tatum drives to the rim and it's just soft and it floats off and he misses it. And
Yeah. Yep.
to me, that again, stark contrast to the way he came out and just decided, like, I am going to put in maximum effort today. So anyway, it does concern me a little. And, I will admit that the home record is starting to concern me a little too. I mean, 500 at home, really, over the last several seasons. Great road playoff team. We've been a great road playoff team, but it doesn't seem like we can just go up 2-0 at home.
Yeah.
Like, if we're going to have home court advantage in every series.
Yeah.
And I do wonder if at some point, whether it's the next series or in the finals, if we make it that far, if we are going to be able to say, all right, look, like, we are going to hold court at home, and we are not going to let the other team get a win in Boston. It
Right.
just doesn't seem like that's the mentality of this team. So I do think, like, I'm not on panic alert for that. Certainly doesn't
No.
really matter against the Cavs, but I am watching out for it.
Well,
If this continues to be a pattern of sort of letting go of the tow rope in game 2, I'll be a little concerned in future series.
could this be the first ever time where home court advantage is a disadvantage? Home court disadvantage? Yeah, it's concerning, but I have been honestly looking at it half glass full. with the ability to play well on the road for the past 3 years in the playoffs is huge. You need to grab those games.
Yeah.
But of course, it's concerning that Boston has always been a place where the Celtics have dominated. I mean, you look at that '08 team; they never lost a single game in Boston
Yeah.
in the playoffs, and it's usually supposed to be such a big advantage. But I think even the fans now they know it. Like in that game too, I don't know if you heard Bill Simmons or listened to his podcast after that game, but he was like, my dad didn't go to the game, and I asked him why, and he basically was like, I don't know, they're probably going to lose. He just
Game
like
2 in Boston, guaranteed L. Yeah.
it's like a guaranteed L. But
It
I think
is starting to feel that way, and
yeah,
again, maybe I do think it boils down to disrespecting your opponent,
mm-hmm.
and maybe I'm wrong because I'm
No, I
not
think
in the
so.
locker room. I don't know, but like, and not that we can't lose games, and so that's why Tatum's comment, it didn't bug me, but I was like, well, it's not that you can't lose games. Teams lose all the time. Great
Right.
playoff teams lose games. It just feels like the change in style of play, the sort of stuck in the quicksand, isolation heavy, slow
Yep.
on rotations.
Walking the ball up.
Yeah, and so it's hard for people who watch the team very closely not to notice those patterns in
Right.
certain spots. So anyway, well,
But it's all about growth. And that's why I loved the message that Tatum sent in halftime and then came out and
and sent
had
with
that
his play.
because if you honestly, we know he's not, and the Celtics have not been that type of team to keep their foot on the gas. But it's all about growth. If they can become that, if they can learn from these mistakes, which they've had plenty of opportunities to, but if this is something that they can avoid when they reach a Knicks or a Pacers or a Minnesota, Denver, Mavs, whoever, OKC, whoever it's going to be, then we should easily, not easily, all these teams are great, but we should be able to win the championship for sure if we can keep our foot on the pedal. That'd be something to see. And game 4 is going to be exciting because Cleveland is not Miami. The Cleveland fans show up 30 minutes before the game. They don't show up in the third quarter like Miami. So game 4
I know I was
is going
really
to be
impressed by the Cleveland crowd. They were wicked
crazy.
loud. I mentioned this earlier, but we should keep an eye on like Mitchell left that game and went straight to the locker room, and
Yep.
we'll see what the status with him is for game 4. But yeah, I'm almost wanting us to get into an overtime game or a clutch situation, just to sort of I don't know, to prove to ourselves that we can sort of win a really close game when everything's on the line at the end. But yeah, we should talk about Mitchell a little though. I mean, I've been
Love
so
to.
impressed by Donovan Mitchell here. I had said to you earlier, like he could be the best player in a series. He has been the best player in this series so far, at
Yep.
least in my opinion.
Well,
Uh,
it depends. His defense, he is not a good defender. And
no,
there
but
are
he
two sides
hasn't.
of the court.
Has he looked like that big of a liability? Let's put it this way: have we been able to exploit bad Donovan Mitchell defense to the extent where you're going? Oh boy.
Last game 3,
A
we did.
little.
Game 3, we did. Every time Brown or Tatum was on him, they were able to cross him up, get the help, and make the right play. I think last game we did. Game 2, like we said, nobody played well. And obviously, Mitchell did that thing that Kobe and Jordan and LeBron, all the great players do, which is get everybody involved and confident in the first half and then just put the game away in the second half.
Yeah.
He has been impressive his whole playoff career. He averages 6 more points in his playoff than he does in regular season, or 5 more points or whatever it is. But he has always had big performances. He just never has made it out of the second round. You can blame that on, I don't know. I don't know what you would blame that on. I guess his help around him, but he has been, there are players like when Jimmy Butler kills you, you hate it. But when Donovan Mitchell is doing this, I have, the only reaction I've had is not like, man, I hate Donovan Mitchell. It's been like, wow,
you kind of appreciate it, just like the difficult shot making. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, there's a short list of guys in this league who up their game to the extent that Mitchell does, and certainly Jimmy you could put on that list. I would put Jamal Murray on that list.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of, not necessarily right now, but yeah, I don't think he's totally healthy. And then Mitchell too. I mean, like he like you mentioned, he's averaging 30 points this playoffs, and he's done it against 2 really good defenses. I mean, that Magic defense is suffocating, and they threw everything at him, and this Celtics defense obviously is as well. Yeah, I made this list. Like where does Mitchell rank in terms of just pure bucket getters of the guys left in the playoffs right now?
Nice.
I'm gonna give you a list here. I was just I was thinking of it myself. I was like, all right, like, just of the guys left, you need a bucket. Let's say there's whatever.
Are you going to do it either or, like Mitchell or?
No, I'm going to give you a list of guys. Like, so, okay. The contenders here would be Anthony Edwards, obviously. Murray and Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tatum and Brown, let's put them both.
Mm-hmm.
SGA, Jalen Brunson, Halliburton, Luka, and Kyrie.
Okay.
And Mitchell, of course.
And
So,
Mitchell, right.
where is he on that list? I mean, I don't, what do you think?
So this is a scenario where you're talking fourth quarter, need a bucket.
Pure bucket getter.
Pure bucket getter.
It's isolation. The game is slowed to a halt. You're down by one. You're looking for a go ahead 2 or 3.
My number one on that list would be tied SGA or Luka.
Interesting.
That would be my number one.
Not Brunson.
Not Brunson.
No love for Brunson here.
No. There's love for Brunson. He's high on that list. He's been incredible. He's also a little bit banged up right now, but healthy Brunson. Yeah, he might be third or fourth, but third or fourth tied with Mitchell. Honestly, right now, if you look at that list, Anthony Edwards, I know he's been playing amazing. I could do a whole episode on how I feel about Anthony Edwards. I love him not beating the MJ allegations. He might be his son. We don't know, but
so fun to watch.
Let's pump the brakes. Let's pump the brakes a little bit though, just a little bit. All right.
Is Anthony Edwards good?
Next. I know. I love it. I love his love. This is his ascension. But people are putting him in top five in the league right now. It's he's had a great first round playoff against the Phoenix Suns, who have the worst defense ever. And then he played a good 2 games in Minnesota where his whole team played well. Okay. Naz Reid was hitting every 3. Cat was playing incredible. And then the defense was suffocating. So I get it. It's amazing. Give him his flowers, but he's not even in the top 5 or 6 for me in that conversation right now.
We could be witnessing the moment.
I'm putting SGA, Luka, maybe even Irving, Mitchell, Brunson. I'm still going with Tatum, but I put Mitchell right in that first 4 or 5.
Me too. And it's impressive. These are some of the best bucket getters in the whole NBA too. I mean, I'm just making this list. I was like, wow, we just have a lot of guys left in this playoffs.
Yeah.
Who can just go get you one. And again, Mitchell, I don't know where you rank him behind, certainly behind Luke. I put Brunson second. I just think he will a basket, despite his stature. But Mitchell just really impressive in this playoffs. And I would just say, I think he's a little underrated.
Definitely. It's because the lack of winning. If he had any help on those early Jazz teams, or even more help on this Cavs team, they probably should have won last year's series against the Knicks. They obviously faltered that, and the Knicks were not as good as they were this year. But he still performed incredible. And watching him in this series, whether it's out from the outside, he's obviously shooting incredible from 3. He was 7 for 12 in this game, but also his ability in that game too. You saw it with just a Celtics defense that was one step behind, dismantled them down the court, half transition. Celtics have 4 bodies back. They only have 2. He'd cross up 2 of us, get that little hook layup.
And he probably could have had 45 points in that game, but as you mentioned, he got everyone involved. Mm-hmm. That was a superstar game, and people don't really talk about him as a superstar. Is he one? I don't know. The term is kind of meaningless, but anyway, yeah. But looking forward to Game 4. It's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, Game 4 is gonna be great. Game 4 tonight. We're obviously filming this on Sunday, but Game 4 is on Monday, which is now when you're listening to it. Game 4 tonight in Cleveland. It's going to be a big test because, again, like I said, it's not Miami. This is a different home crowd, and this is a different team with their star players, with a guy who, like we just talked about, who can get you 50 any given night. They're going to be more aggressive. They know 3-1 headed to Boston is potentially a death sentence for them. So we'll see. It's going to be super fun. Let's see if we come out with the same kind of energy. I'm looking for back-to-back great games by Jason Tatum. I think that is important for this team, for him to lead this team to just knock out the Cavs and get us ready for the Eastern Conference Finals. So I'm looking forward to that. Aggressive all over the place. Defense, keep the high intensity up, and just keep Dean Wade just way away. Just I don't want Dean Wade involved at all.
Don't let him get one.
Don't let him get one. He did get one right off the bat, and then got nothing after that. All right, man. Well, this was good. A good breakdown of everything, and Major Wager, we will check in. I'll give an update for everybody tomorrow on my Instagram, on the Dribbles Instagram, letting you know who won the bet tomorrow. But good talking, man. Go Celtics.
Go C's, baby.
All right, man. Peace.
Peace.
Well, there you have it. Another great conversation with Timmy KGB talking about the Celtics, what we see, where we are going. And of course, tonight, Monday night, Game 4 in Cleveland. Can the Celtics keep this up? Can the Celtics keep this trend up? Can the Celtics do what they need to do in this game to go back to Boston and secure the series and secure an Eastern Conference Finals berth? We shall see. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be really interesting. I think this game is a big swing game. We do not want to keep the Cavs close, right? We want to do our best to put them away as early as possible so we can move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, the moment everybody has been waiting for, at least I have, it has been a while since I've done Hope's Hotel, right? I've kind of put Hope's Hotel to the side, but like I said, there are 8 teams left in the playoffs, and it is time to give them their appropriate rooms. Like I explained in the intro, if you don't know Hope's Hotel, it is my tier rankings for all the teams in the NBA based on their title hopes, hence the name Hope's Hotel. Everywhere from the penthouse, high hopes, all the way down to the parking lot or even on a bus headed out of town. No hopes, right? So let's dive into it. Like I said, the only teams allowed in the hotel are the teams in the playoffs. It is a private event. Playoff teams only, VIPs only. A lot of things have changed. And there's a lot of VIPs in the parking lot, but they did not make it into this event, right? You have the Hawks, the Bulls, the Suns, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Pelicans, the Magic, the Jazz, the Warriors, the Nets, the Raptors, the 76ers, who I wanted to put on the bus, but I didn't. The Heat, the Wizards, the Hornets, the Pistons, the Bucks, the Grizzlies, the Trailblazers, the Spurs, the Rockets, and the Kings. And like I said, there's a lot of VIPs here, typical VIPs. You have LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal. I mean, the list goes on. Zion, Trae Young, DeMar DeRozan, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, everybody here. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. Obviously, Joel Embiid and Jimmy Butler and Bam and obviously Giannis and Dame and then Ja from the Grizzlies and Wemby, of course, from the Spurs. So just so many VIPs, but they don't make the list. So they're hanging out in the parking lot, kind of old school style, maybe waiting for the private event, the playoffs to be over. So then they can kind of party in the parking lot with everybody else. But right now, they are hanging out in the parking lot. Let's go ahead and go to the main event. Let's go to the hotel. As you can see, here's the hotel. It is closed for a private event, like you can see on the door here. And so nobody's in the lobby, right? Everything's cleared out. Everything is happening in the rooms above. So let's go to the standard rooms. Pull it up. First thing you notice, right? Knicks, Cavs, Pacers. Yeah, these are all Eastern teams, and this might come back to bite me in the butt because obviously the Celtics are an Eastern team. These are the only other teams other than the Celtics that are currently remaining in the East. And look, I would put the Knicks in the next tier. I love the Knicks. I am hot on the Knicks, and I've been hot on the Knicks all year. I love the way they play defense. I love their clutch time play. It seems like every game, no matter what the score is throughout the game, at the end of the game, it's close. Jalen Brunson makes some good plays. He's got to stop foul baiting, obviously. But the Knicks are amazing, right? They're just riddled with injury right now, and with OG Anunoby, and now you have Brunson a little bit banged up. I fear that they might not make it past the Pacers, because the Pacers play with the most pace in the league. I know Pacers pace, but they play with the most pace. And when you have an injured team, that's kind of tough to keep up with. If Jalen Brunson is going to play injured, are you really going to be able to keep up defensively with Halliburton running the floor? It's going to be tough. And I love Hartenstein. He's really good. He's kind of that big body bruiser, but Miles Turner's really good too. And that matchup is tough, especially when you ask more of Hartenstein. And the Pacers, although they're not the most talented team, they are healthy. They're relatively healthy right now. And of course, we obviously know Julius Randle is out with an injury that, even though I don't think that that's that big of a deal, I'm not the biggest Randle guy in the world, but you just have too many injuries. OG Anunoby, when healthy, is such a huge presence, right? But that hamstring that he pulled, that's something that he might be back in a couple of games, but it's also something that even if they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, that's a lingering injury. Jaylen Brown had that about 3 years ago in the playoffs, and he was not himself, and he was in and out of the lineup the entire time, and that ultimately led us to being bounced out of the playoffs. So the Knicks, I love the Knicks. I love when they're healthy, and especially seeing what they're going to bring back next year. They have a weird salary cap next year, and I'm not writing them off. For everybody listening is probably like, wow, Luke's writing them off. No, because again, they are gritty. They have Jalen Brunson, who is just putting New York on his shoulders. And like I said, the clutch time is huge. They're one of the best clutch time playoff teams, if not the best clutch time playoff team currently in the playoffs, but also in the past couple of years. It seems like every late game they make a surge, right? And if it weren't for Tyrese Maxey, they would have had another clutch time win under their belt. So I love the Knicks. It's just the injuries you can't ignore, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up making it to, the suites. But right now they're in a standard room, and like I said, I kind of want to see them in the Eastern Conference Finals. I've said this before, and it's not because I think they'd be an easy matchup out of all the teams. The other two teams that we would maybe face, the Knicks or the Pacers, they would be the tougher of the two teams. But it's just New York, Boston. They're gritty. New York has this. The Knicks now have this like clutch time, like I said, presence and narrative. And the Celtics for a while have had the opposite. Like they're not clutch in the clutch time. So it'd be a good test for the Celtics. And I just want to see Tatum drop a 50 burger in Madison Square Garden. That just would be great. And then obviously Brunson doing his thing, and he has torn the Celtics up this year. So that would be a great matchup. But right now, because of the injuries, they are in a standard room. We'll see. They're about to play right now. Actually, they play in 10 minutes as I'm recording this. So we'll see. We'll see what they can do, if they can keep the series alive, or if the Pacers are going to push it and really make things competitive, tying the series up. And then you have the Cleveland Cavaliers here. Yeah, look, Donovan Mitchell is incredible. He is absolutely on fire. And this team, though, just doesn't have another scoring option. They're kind of in and out, and they're kind of back and forth. Karis LeVert is great. I do like LeVert. He is quick. He can make those moves, but he just disappears for long stretches of the games. And it's something that you can't have in the playoffs. It's something that really is not viable going forward in the playoffs. And Okoro is a good defender. Max Strus obviously can hit a couple threes, but without Jared Allen in these games, their size is compromised. And like Tim and I just talked about in the Celtics portion, they're pretty easily penetrated because they don't have a lot of bigs. If you take, because we have a lot of bigs that shoot threes, we talked about this. If you take Mobley out of the paint, there's nobody in there. And so the Celtics and anybody else can kind of like eat them up from the inside. So this team is better than people are making it out to be. People wanted a sweep. People said this is the easiest team. The Celtics have such an easy team. Well, they were the 7th best defensive team. Right now they're the 4th best, and they're the 3rd best point differential team in the playoffs currently. And the Cavs aren't as bad as people are saying. And like I said, Donovan Mitchell has been on an absolute tear lately. I'm going to read off some of all of his point totals in the playoffs so far. So he started out with 30 points, and then he had a couple of bad games that didn't go so well. He had 23 points, 13 points, 18 points, right? Lost 2 of those games. But since then, 28, 50, 39, 33, 29, 33. I mean, he's on a heater. And last night, he was absolutely incredible. He shot 12 for 22 from the floor, and he shot 7 for 12 from 3. He shot well above 50% from 3 last night against the Celtics, or on Saturday night against the Celtics. So they have a superstar, at least offensively. He's not the best defender in the world. You can kind of pick on him on the defensive end, which that's kind of why he's not on that Tatum, Anthony Edwards, SGA, Luka level, even though Luka doesn't play defense, but his offense certainly makes up for it. But Donovan Mitchell is nothing to ignore, right? He's incredible, and in the playoffs, he's always elevated his game. So the Cavs are great. And, again, maybe I'm disrespecting them. They don't have, but if they had Jared Allen, maybe, again, injuries affecting them, affecting a lot of teams in the East, including the Celtics with Porzingis. But that's what I see right now. The Cavs are also in the standard room. And then you have the Pacers standard room. They're just not, Halliburton's great, and he had a slump in the end of the season, and he's been playing better in the past couple of games. But I could easily see them losing to the Knicks. Obviously, they're down 1-2 right now, and like I said, they have great pace. They have a couple people that can get you, but they just don't have enough depth. Because in the postseason, especially when you get to the Eastern Conference Finals and the Finals, when the defenses start collapsing on Tyrese, who else is it going to be? Aaron Nesmith might have a game of 25 points, but that's not going to do it. It's not enough. It's not reliable enough. They could shock the world, but they're a standard room. To me, those are the 3 East teams, and I hate to do it because I know the Celtics are in the East. I'm not trying to talk trash. That's just how I see it. Let's go ahead and reveal the suites, the next level. These are the suites, the sweetest rooms of the sweetie suites. Let's go ahead and reveal it. Bang. Okay. So you see the 2 rooms are reserved, first of all, right? And then you have the Nuggets, the Mavs, and the Thunder. The 2 reserved rooms is because I do believe if the Knicks pull ahead. If you're in the Eastern Conference Finals, one of these two teams, Knicks or Pacers, is going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals, and that automatically puts you. You're not one of the 4 teams left. That automatically, obviously, puts you into the sweets. So, so for right now, those 3 teams are down there, and for right now, these two rooms are reserved for whoever outperforms and shows that they are worthy of that suite. So obviously, you have the Nuggets, the Mavericks, and the Thunder, all 3 West teams. Those are all 3 amazing teams. You notice the one West team that isn't there, so you can kind of guess who is at the top. But let's go over this. Denver has just shown some vulnerability, and I know I'm not trying to react too much to those first 2 games. I know that they came back and they had a great win in game 3, but it wasn't a dominating game. And the problem with Denver that I see them when they face any of these teams, and especially the team they're facing right now, is speed. When they get sped up and Jokic is forced to make something happen, and they are facing a good defensive team that covers kind of the next man and the skip passes, they kind of, when they get sped up, they kind of make bad decisions at times. And I love Jokic, and he played so well, and he deservedly got the MVP this year. But they're tough. You know, they have some shooters, but they don't have a lot of playmakers besides Jokic. Jokic really is the center cog, and he does everything. Obviously, Murray can get a bucket anytime he wants, and he's super clutch late, which is huge in the playoffs. But I mean, I don't see Aaron Gordon necessarily like. He's not a bucket getter. Then you have Michael Porter Jr., who's a shooter, and he can shoot, obviously. But if he's cold, he's ice cold. And again, he's not making plays. You're not giving it to him, setting him up, and having him run a play. So sometimes they get a little bit sped up, and the size of Minnesota has proven to be an issue. Minnesota is big, and obviously the Nuggets are big, but they don't face a lot of teams as big as them, and Minnesota is that. And I don't know who's going to come out of that. Tonight is the game, Sunday night. And then you have the Mavericks. I initially picked the Mavericks to go to the finals, and that still might happen. So I have them here in the suites. But Luka seems a little bit banged up, maybe. And their defense has been good, especially against the Clippers. It was really good. A little bit less so against these Oklahoma City Thunder. But it's really what puts them here is Kyrie. Kyrie has been unbelievable, and we know what he can do as the pressure gets more intense. So this team really has impressed me with their defense, especially in the last couple of months of the season, and then they've kept that going in the playoffs. And then you have Luka, who any given night can give you 35, 10 and 8, and of course Kyrie, who can hit some clutch buckets. So they're scary. They're still a scary team, and they got a great home crowd. So they're someone to watch out for. And then you have Oklahoma City Thunder. They're here. I was tempted to put them in a standard room, and maybe that's disrespect. SGA all the way, second in MVP voting, totally deserved it. Unbelievable year. Just a lot of young players. You got Chet. You just got these players who I love them, and they're playing so well. They're incredible, but they're young. And again, as the lights get brighter, I'm not saying they can't rise to the occasion, but we haven't seen them rise to the occasion, right? And it's tough. They don't even know what it's going to be like when they get into the Western Conference Finals if they have to face a Denver who's been there. The brights be too light? The brights be too light? Will the lights be too bright? Or will they be able to play the ball that they've been playing all year? It can be tough. It can be tough to execute when you're young. But SGA has been absolutely balling. So those are my 3 teams in the suites. You have the Nuggets, the Mavericks, and the Thunder. Let's go ahead and reveal the penthouse, the teams that I believe have the highest hopes of winning the title. Go ahead. Boom. Yep, you already knew it. You already guessed it. Minnesota Timberwolves, Boston Celtics, right? Boston Celtics, we talked about the East, a little bit depleted with injury. A lot of the people who used to be in the East that were kind of dominating, maybe an Embiid, not Embiid in the playoffs, but Giannis, they're not in the playoffs any longer. So it feels like this would be the time, right, for them to definitely get over that hump, especially given the injuries. And then the Timberwolves. I was kind of low on the Timberwolves entering the playoffs. I got to admit it. I didn't pick the Suns to win that first round, but I did pick them to at least put some pressure, and I thought they could have won. But the Timberwolves dispatched to them real quick. Anthony Edwards obviously not beating the MJ allegations. Is he MJ's son? I'm a big MJ guy, and I don't think he is. I don't think he's quite to that level. I think we're maybe giving a little bit too many flowers to him too quick. He has the attitude. He has the aggression, but he is still young. He is still young. I don't know. You go find me a clip of Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant doing this gesture. The for people who don't see it, I'm not going to say what it is, but you know he did this against the Suns. That's childish. It's juvenile. When the pressure gets heavier, will he be able to do it, or is he too immature right now? But I think he could, like future-wise, where he's projected to go, man, he can shoot, he can defend, he's tenacious, and he's clearly galvanized this group. He's clearly the leader of this team. You watch him in the press conferences with Cat, with Mike Conley, who's been a longtime vet, longtime leader, one time the highest paid player or second highest paid player in the league, which is wild to think about. And the way he even talks to them in public, it's like this way of putting them in line, but not being disrespectful at all. He is a leader. You can tell he's a leader on the court. He didn't have a great game 3, kind of regressed a little bit, didn't play too well, but we'll see if he bounced back tonight. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you know whether he did or not. But he's just a great player. But it's their defense. Their defense is swarming, tenacious. When they have the energy and when they come out with that purpose, just like the Celtics, and that's why they're both up here, man, their perimeter defense and their length is incredible. Which brings us to the Celtics, right? We talk about them all the time, so you know why I believe they're here. But I think it's going to be defense, right? The Celtics' length and their aggression and their ability to protect the perimeter. Both of these teams are kind of similar, right? You both these teams with long wings, some good guards, some really good one-on-one defenders. You have McDaniels from Minnesota. You have Drew Holiday from the Celtics. You have Anthony Edwards from Minnesota. You have Jaylen Brown and Derek White from the Celtics, right? You have Naz Reid on the Timberwolves. You have Jason Tatum on the Celtics, like some really good back and forth defenders who can defend all levels. They can defend the perimeter, they can defend the paint. So it's really going to be. I think this is going to be who it's going to be together in the finals. And I'm not ready to predict it. Obviously, you know who I want and who I think should come out, but it'll be a tough series regardless. It'll be really a test of who's the man, right? Who's the man? Can Anthony Edwards will this team? Or will Jason Tatum lead the Celtics to banner 18? And it'll be a tough, physical, defensive battle. And we know Brown likes to talk. We know Anthony Edwards likes to talk. There will be beef if these two teams fight. It'll be a dog fight, a bar fight. It will be old school 90s basketball. Both of these teams play bruiser basketball, and they're both efficient offenses with really good pieces all around. Cat has been impressive for the Timberwolves this whole playoff. So we will see what happens with those two teams. But that's who I have right now. Read it back again in the standard rooms. So all East in the standard. So you have the Knicks, Cavs, Pacers. And then in the suites, I have Denver, Mavs, Thunder, and then in the penthouse, I have the Timberwolves and the Boston Celtics meeting in the finals. But that's just right now. Next week, it could change. Everything could change depending on what games happen. This is fluid. As Stephen A. would say, this list is, in fact, fluid. So yeah, that's Hope's Hotel, and that's basically everything I wanted to cover today. Thank you guys so much. It was a little bit of a longer episode going over the Celtics, and then I wanted to bring back Hope's Hotel. Real quick, before I let you go, I just want to look ahead to games for the Celtics against the Cavaliers this coming week. Of course, tonight, like I said, Game 4, 7 o'clock. Cavaliers, Celtics, going to be a good one. And then on Wednesday, 7 o'clock, Game 5. TNT against the Cavaliers, and then if needed, Friday night 8:30 on ESPN would be Game 6, and May 19th would be Game 7. Again, if needed, that's just to be determined. No time on that yet. We'll see where the series goes. But yeah, that's everything. Hope you learned something. If not, that's cool. Go Celtics. This has been the Dribble.